I'm focused for the title, and I came here just to show everybody that I'm real contender number one, and I wanna fight for the title, and I have to fight for the title. They have to say that, and hopefully on Tuesday they announce that fight, and me fighting main event with Topuria. When it's going to be in Vegas or in Los Angeles.
This one, it's just, it's starting off a new era on a new broadcast partner, and there's heat with Ilia and Patty. And honestly, man, I think we're all kind of dealing with half information here because we don't know what Ilia truly wants.
Tsarukyan's dominant win fuels his demand for a title shot as he steps forward with confidence and calls out the top names standing in his way. Meanwhile, Arman Tsarukyan talked about his win with a calm and clear mindset. He explained that the finish was part of the plan and showed how much his skills have improved. For him, ending the fight early wasn't just about excitement, it was about proving control, discipline, and confidence. His message focused on showing his level, staying sharp, and delivering the kind of performance he aims for every time. He said, "A finish is always the best outcome. You take the judges out of it, show control, and prove you're on another level. My goal was simple, put on a masterclass and get the job done as quickly as possible." Arman looked ahead to a possible fight with Ilia and spoke about his confidence in the octagon. He emphasized being a well-rounded fighter with skills in striking, wrestling, and kicking, along with strong endurance and explosiveness. He emphasized that his strategy is effective, not just relying on power, and believes his combination of youth, experience, and versatility gives him an edge over his top opponents. He also said that if you watch my fights, you'll see I'm complete. I can strike, wrestle, kick, and keep a strong pace. I'm explosive, confident, and smart. He might have power, but I won't stay in his range. I control the distance and come in with more weapons. Looking ahead to a possible fight with Ilia, it's useful to compare styles. Analysts note that past opponents with similar games provide insights into what to expect. Luke Thomas highlighted how Hooker faced Gamrot, showing how distance, footwork, and takedown defense play key roles. These patterns help predict how Tsarukyan might approach the fight and where Arman could find opportunities.
So what do we learn about this fight? Well, in the fight before for Hooker, which was the Gamrot fight, or maybe it was 2 fights ago, I can't remember anymore. But Gamrot has there's meaningful differences, but has a very similar game to Tsarukyan. There's a lot of similarities. And what we saw there was you see Hooker kind of playing that long game, right? He's got that arm kind of hanging out, and he throws long, and he kind of stays long, and he stays light on his feet.
Continuing from that, Luke explained how striking exchanges made the difference. Gamrot was able to land clean shots and even hurt Hooker while he pressured forward. This shows how fighters like Tsarukyan, with similar skills, could create moments to dominate. The comparison emphasizes strategy, timing, and smart distance control, key elements Arman will likely consider if he faces Ilia in his next fight.
And he had much better takedown defense. He did get taken down a few times, often when his kicks would get caught, but the bigger thing that I noticed was that Gamrot was able to hurt and stung him with punches several times, including like stuff that he was able to land as Hooker was pressuring into him. And it's like, I don't want to dismiss the skills of Gamrot or overstate Tsarukyan's, but it just feels like if Gamrot's able to rock Hooker, Tsarukyan should be able to as well.
Furthermore, Arman Tsarukyan reflected on his matchup with Hooker, pointing out that fights are part of the business, not personal. He appreciated Hooker for stepping up, giving him the chance to gain experience, recognition, and rewards. For Arman, every challenge is an opportunity to grow, prove his skills, and build his career, showing respect to those who help him rise in the division.
I just said, this is a game business, it's a fighting, but I don't have anything personal to you, and you're the man, you're only guy who fought with me, and if you didn't take this fight, I wasn't be here, and thank you. It's really just one guy who wanted to fight me. It was a Hooker that I want to say thank you him, because I got that experience, money, everything, attention, and everybody is, who is that?
Looking ahead, Arman shifted focus to a potential fight with Ilia. He explained that while his main priority was his recent matchup, he also wants to create excitement and attention for future fights. For him, being a fighter isn't just about skills in the octagon, it's also about engaging fans, creating memorable moments, and showing he can be both a strong athlete and an entertaining showman.
I mean, I didn't want to mention too much Ilia because I was focused on my fight. But after today, I'm gonna try to again create some crazy videos that are gonna be viral and try to make a joke, and to bring a lot of eyes for that fight because it's like a media sport too. You gotta be a good fighter and a good showman.
Building on his focus on creating excitement and attention, Arman also talked about being ready physically for a potential fight with Ilia Topuria. He explained that after a short rest, he can train and prepare without injuries holding him back. Confident and disciplined, he's ready to seize the opportunity whenever it's officially announced, whether in Las Vegas or Los Angeles.
Of course, I can rest 1 week, fly to US and stay there 2 months. It's enough time to get ready, and I didn't get any injured, thank God, and they have to say that, and hopefully on Tuesday they announced that fight and me fighting main event with Topuria when it's gonna be in Vegas or in Los Angeles. So I'm ready. I gotta take that chance, and I have pretty time to get ready.
Moving on, Michael Bisping reflected on Arman Tsarukyan's performance against Dan Hooker, highlighting how different Hooker looked coming into the fight. He mentioned Hooker's new look, confidence, and hype as a title contender, but noted that despite all the attention, Arman remained focused. Bisping emphasized that pre-fight narratives can be misleading, and it's the performance inside the octagon that ultimately shows who's truly prepared and skilled.
That brings us to Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker, tonight's main event, and what was an incredible performance from Arman Tsarukyan. Dan Hooker, I think it's fair to say that everyone loves this guy. He's very entertaining. This new version with the tattoos has put on a lot of muscle. He doesn't care. He's got swag. His dress sense has changed. He's dyed his hair like Eminem. He's talking a lot. He was calling Arman every name under the sun.
Title contender, the guy that beat Ilia, and now he's losing to Dan Hooker, the bloke from New Zealand who's lost a third of his fight.
Continuing his analysis, Bisping focused on Arman's dominance inside the octagon. He described how Arman controlled the fight on the feet with precise strikes, knees, and kicks, then transitioned smoothly to takedowns and ground control. Bisping highlighted Arman's ability to finish the fight effectively and efficiently while imposing authority, showing both technical skill and composure, reinforcing why this performance elevated his status as a top contender in the division.
And I think he convinced a lot of people that he was going to do well. And, granted, he has beaten the likes of Mateusz Gamrot that beat Arman Tsarukyan. But tonight, Arman was fantastic. On the feet, he cracked him, he connected with knees, kicks, he butchered up his calf. I mean, everything that he was throwing was landing with authority. Then he took him down, almost crucifixed him, elbowed the crap out of him and just made life miserable for Dan Hooker. And then in the second round, it was more of the same. He went out, butchered him up, landed some shots, took him down, and then choked him out.
After talking about Arman's amazing win, Bisping looked at the bigger picture in the division. He explained that with top fighters like Ilia Topuria and others making moves, the title picture is crowded. Arman's performance clearly puts him at the top, but other fighters are also staking their claim. Bisping highlighted the tension and why everyone is watching to see who gets the next shot.
Dan Hooker's incredible, right? And there's no shame in losing to Arman Tsarukyan. He is kind of like this new generation. He wants to fight Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria was in attendance, but he has been very quiet, and he did say that he would rather vacate the belt than fight Arman Tsarukyan.
I'm the world champion. I'm never gonna give him a chance to fight for title. I will be like, listen, if that's the case, take my belt.
No, I don't think he was saying that because he's scared. I think he's just saying that to wind Arman up. But if you're a casual fan or you don't understand the mind games, you might think that Ilia's scared. But Ilia does need to come out and say something, because obviously there's a logjam now at the top. There's Arman, who's rightfully the #1 contender, who on meritocracy should get the shot. Then there's Paddy Pimblett, who through popularity might get the shot. And there's Justin Gagey out there who's digging his heels in and saying, hey, I deserve a title shot. What the hell's going on? So who gets it? You let me know in the comment section. But Arman Tsarukyan was phenomenal tonight.
On the Ariel Helwani show, Chuck Mindenhall discussed the possibility of Arman Tsarukyan fighting in January. He explained that Arman has already made himself ready for an opportunity, showing confidence and commitment. Chuck highlighted that this is a smart move for Arman, proving he's prepared and serious, and that the timing is realistic, keeping him in the conversation as a top contender for big fights early next year.
I agree, and I mean, honestly, if it happens, what'd you say, January 24th is kind of speculation? If that happens, that is not so far off. That is 2 months away. And I appreciate that Arman basically qualified himself by saying, listen, I'm ready to go. If you want to fight in January, I'm ready.
Chuck continued by talking about potential opponents like Paddy Pimblett, and he explained that even though Pimblett may not deserve the fight as much as Arman, he still brings excitement and challenge. Chuck highlighted that Arman reminds everyone he's a problem in the division and that the UFC could help build hype around him. He also noted the tension and interactions between Pimblett and Topuria make this fight feel almost destined.
And it's not necessarily that you're just taking the novelty of a Paddy Pimblett fight. At this point, the dude's 7-0, and he has looked very good as he's kept going. So it's not like you're just throwing a guy in there, you know, busting up the meritocracy and throwing a guy in there who just doesn't deserve it. I still think that Paddy maybe doesn't deserve as much as Arman, but like he still brings some danger element to that. So I like that. I love the idea of having the challenge. See, you know me, and we've talked about this many times. You love the idea of the dangling carrot beyond it. So like if you do have Arman sitting there, wouldn't that be great? Because I think he just reminded everybody that he's going to be a problem. And honestly, man, he probably needs some shine again. I think the UFC needs to do a good job of like maybe getting behind Arman a little bit and juicing him up a little bit to get him ready for that gig. But right now, dude, you saw like I was when I looked at like when Pimblett had that really brief moment, you know, with Topuria where he's like they're calling each other names from afar. Don't you just kind of feel it? It just feels destiny that they've got to fight at this point.
Building on the discussion about Arman's potential matchups, Brett Okamoto reflected on a fight that never happened, Arman Tsarukyan versus Islam Makhachev. He explained that injuries and weight cut issues prevented the fight, but Arman's recent performances prove he belongs at the top. Okamoto highlighted that even as a relative newcomer, Arman's skill and consistency make him one of the best fighters in the division.
This is why we were excited to see Arman fight Islam at the beginning of the year, you know, and we got robbed of it because of, you know, a lingering back injury that Arman said that was obviously pulled him out during the weight cut. You have that whole debacle, and you know, since then Dana White is, you know, kind of mischaracterizing that as a failed weight cut, and Arman saying it wasn't a failed weight cut, it was a back spasm. Whichever reason it was, we didn't get the fight, and I don't know if we'll ever get that fight now, Arman versus Islam, but that would have been such a good fight, and now we see why. You know, Arman he's a world-class fighter, man. I mean, I think you could make an argument for, you know, I always submit these pound-for-pound rankings after all the pay-per-views, and you know, you go through the champions and you're coming down to the end of the list and you're like, who's going to round out that top 10? Arman Tsarukyan could be in the top 10 pound for pound, man. He is very, 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 very good. And we saw that.
Okamoto discussed that the start of a new era for the UFC with a new broadcast partner and high stakes fights. He focused on Ilia Topuria, explaining that fans and analysts only have partial information about what he really wants. Okamoto noted that Ilia often seems disinterested in matchups that are presented to him, making it unclear which fights he truly prioritizes and what direction the UFC might take.
This one, it's just, you know, it's starting off a new era on a new broadcast partner, and there's heat with Ilia and Paddy, and honestly, man, I think we're all kind of dealing with half information here because we don't know what Ilia truly wants. Like, Ilia obviously wants to go and chase Islam, but we haven't really gotten his input all that much, you know? I mean, he said he's disinterested in Justin. He said he's slightly more interested, I believe, in kind of Paddy, but even that, he says, an easy fight. But Ilia is kind of funny in that, like, he's always seems disinterested in every fight you ever bring to him.
Okamoto continued, explaining that despite Ilia's disinterest, the UFC might still set up exciting matchups. He speculated that a fight between Paddy Pimblett and Ilia is likely, and suggested Arman could be a backup option on that card. Okamoto emphasized that these discussions create flexibility for the UFC, allowing them to plan big events while testing fighters' willingness, keeping fans engaged and building anticipation for the division's next big fights.
Like, remember when he first won the title and he's like, no, I'm not interested in Max Holloway? Like, what? You know, like, who are you interested in if you're not interested in Max Holloway, you know? And so he always kind of has this thing where he sort of poo-poos all these other fights, but I would love to know what the conversations are like between him and Hunter Campbell over there in Qatar right now. Just like, what does he want? What is he willing to do? But my guess, as sitting here as of right now, is that they will do the Paddy fight. And it would not shock me, since Arman even threw it out there, that he's like, hey, throw me on January. It wouldn't surprise me if the UFC at least put it to the fighters, Gaethje and Arman, that you will be on that card as a potential backup, Gaethje versus Arman. Now, I don't know if either one of them would accept that fight. I'm pretty certain Justin would not, you know? But I think that those are kind of the conversation starters. And then that also sort of clears the UFC to be like, hey, we tried to make this #1 contender fight.
Arman Tsarukyan's victory over Dan Hooker not only solidifies his position as a top contender, but also sets the stage for future exciting matchups. His skills, strategy, and focus show he's ready to challenge anyone in the lightweight division. With potential fights against Ilia Topuria or emerging stars like Paddy Pimblett, Arman is proving he can dominate both in the octagon and in the spotlight, keeping fans eagerly anticipating his next move. His blend of talent, discipline, and showmanship positions him as a rising force in the UFC's lightweight scene, capable of shaking up the rankings and creating high-stakes, must-watch matchups. So, who do you think Arman Tsarukyan should fight next? Ilia Topuria or Paddy Pimblett, and why? Comment below with your thoughts.